I'm so happy when things like this happen. This is obviously during a multi-video shoot that Erik and I did. I do a lot of fun things with the microphone. Not like that. Like jokes, and I feel like the microphone's on, and that's what I'm talking into. And then I learned after we were done that it was the computer audio. So just ignore my stupidity with my rats. I'm trying to make a video. Anyways, yeah, so just enjoy. But just know that the audio is going to be from the computer and not from the mic that it looks like I'm doing.
Would you say that 2006 was a good time for our looks? Because that's the year we're at now for Game of the Year cast. We were entering middle school at this point.
Yeah, I guess.
So
That's how age.
just so you all know, Erik, I'm assuming, did not just wake up from a nap. Or maybe he did.
Who knows?
Leave it in the comments if you think so. We've been talking the last couple episodes about how we're starting to get into that, like, those games that, even if they're not like these like artistic things like we talked about, like Resident Evil 4 or Half-Life 2, this is when the games that really defined our palettes and our experiences and just what we like, with the way that trends go now in video games and how there's certain IPs that come out and the way that games work now, we went through a crazy time. We'll talk more about that next year, 2007, because I think that was definitely the defining year for us. Not to say like all the games were great, but 2007, I think it was like that definitive year that a lot of things happened and a lot of big things were shifted. My runner-up game, shockingly, kind of doesn't really fit in like that, and it's Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Growing up, I really liked the X-Men Legends games that came out on the original Xbox, so it was that kind of mold of like the top down, you play as all these Marvel characters, you gotta beat Doctor Doom. The Galactus stuff was like, at that time, one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a game. Like, it was so cool, like the perspective and all that. It was, it's one of those games that it's not a complicated and, it's not this rousing, amazing video game, but it's a fun beat 'em up, and the camera issues are still just annoying and still so amazing at the same time. Um, but for me,
Exactly.
it's funny though, because I was playing that game on an original Xbox, because at this time I did not have the proper video game console to play my game of the year for 2006. I made the joke about Valve. This is the same thing, where this is a company that is known for making one game, and I don't know if it's even a thing really anymore, Fortnite. And
Like,
it, yeah, we're a pro Fortnite channel. Come see our Fortnite streams. It is from Epic Games, and said video game, which I couldn't get initially because my dad did not like the clips of the chainsaws ripping people apart, was Gears of War. When we were going back again, normal template of a conversation of when I went back to sort of look at the games from each year, I would say that maybe realistically Gears of War 2 is maybe slightly a better game. But the first Gears of War to me is just so iconic with its set pieces, the lore, the characters, the way it flows. Like, me being introduced to this game, this was like a huge co-op game for me. I know you and I went through the first two Gears of War. Gears of War 3 we're not going to talk about when it comes to us not beating it on Insanity. But we went through, and like the whole, like, you split up, and the way that it actually works. Like, it is a fabulous game single player, but the way it adapts co-op is like really cool and really tactical. And I don't know what it was, but I started thinking more about this game in preparation, and I just realized how many weird things I thought were cool. So, like, for example, one of the
They did.
gameplay mechanics, when the locusts come up and you have to toss a grenade to shut it. I don't know why that was cool, but like weird gameplay mechanics like that. And this game was a huge step forward for third person shooters when it came to a cover system, because this game sort of changed the cover system of the run and squat. Yo, those legs on these guys must have been thick, because they
With
were able to do these.
Abs.
These calves must have gotten them a workout. But the way the cover system worked, the flowing of it, the weapons are great. Again, I never played a game up until this point where the reloading is kind of like a mini game. And I mean, it's by a mini game.
Yeah,
It's obviously it's
you gotta hit that perfect white square, get that perfect so you get an extra clip.
exactly. So it was just weird little things like that. And it's definitely one of those games that when you look back on it, it is dated for certain things. But I never really took Gears of War as a game that was this deep storytelling. I took it as, it's great lore, it's really solid characters, but it's bros. It's big bros saying like 80s action movie one-liners, especially Coltrane, baby.
Oh
Um,
god.
like, it's one of those games where I think playing it now, I do think it holds up, because it doesn't come across as cringy, because like with the new Gears of War games coming out, everyone's been kind of dissecting the old games, and they think like, this was such a bro thing, blah blah blah. But let's talk about Anya. Anya did not put up with shit. Like, she was a badass woman. So it wasn't just this like tough bro game. Like, it just happened to be all guys, like, is the characters. And I mean, I feel like that was kind of the point. I'm not saying the story or the characters or the motivations are bad, but it seemed like Cliffy B, who again, probably a lot of you don't know who that is now if you're younger, because he's off in greener pastures. He's just living his, I guess, retired life. Because I knew he had like a little game studio, and I don't even think he works there anymore. Um,
Well, I don't think they're a thing anymore.
yeah. Um, but I think his whole thing is, I'm gonna make this violent, gory war movie with sci-fi elements, and like put 80s action like clips in it. And it kind of works, because you sort of just are sucked in, and it feels like a war game. Like, you get that from war movies where it's these guys who are just raunchy, and like that humor between them and their camaraderie. And Marcus Phoenix is just,
He's just a dad who doesn't want to be a dad.
he is some character, all right. And then the fight with General Ram, the anything involving the nighttime stuff, again, it just was like every set piece top notch. Like, I don't think there's a moment in this game where you're kind of like, okay, like, it feels like every second is used. It's like such a well put together action game. The combat, I think, is great. Again, it's one of those things where, like, as a video game, it is a little goofy, especially when you're like playing the multiplayer, which the multiplayer in these games, we learned, is very underrated. It was very underrated. You're like playing the game and you see a guy coming towards you, and he like obnoxiously throws himself to roll, and it kind of is goofy, but it works because that's how the game is. Like, you just kind of buy into it, especially like with the way the game starts. Like, it has such a great opening too, where you just are in the jail, Dom comes to break you out, about Emergence Day, and you're like, whoa, what is happening? Again, the villains are such a great mix. the Hammer of Dawn is one of the most fascinating weapons, I think, in modern games. Like it's such a cool idea. That whole set piece is amazing. I don't know what the character's name, but with the blind thing that's huge and you have to like avoid it. It's just such a well put together game. And again, I think the lore is really fascinating. The aesthetic of it is really great. And it's just a really solid and fun game. And it jump started a franchise, and it, wherever people think it may go, because I haven't played the new ones yet. Judgment was my last one because I thought Gears of War was meant to be played with someone, because Gears of War is kind of like a Battlefield in a way, where like Call of Duty is like a straightforward running and shooting. Battlefield, I think, is a lot more about tactical stuff and kind of making a plan. And that's how Gears of War comes across. It's an action game, but it's not just straight. You can run and gun it with the chainsaw, which again is something that doesn't make sense in real life, because why would you run at an enemy with a chainsaw when he could just 360 no scope you? Also the sniper is underrated in that game. Shotgun, it's great. It's great sound design, music, the zinger, the whoa, 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 and the Mad World trailer. Don't get me started. Gears of War. Oh, and I meant to start this. I'll end it with a sad thing. I tweeted out at Dave Bautista. I said, Dave, I'm going to become famous. I'm going to make an awesome, epic Gears of War game. And Netflix is making that now. So one more dream is dead. But you know what? I'm still
not
here.
Game, but not game. Not either miniseries or movie, but it's still depression.
Depression hits real deep. But yes, Gears of War.
Gears of War was a fun time. It's just, that's about it for me.
Oh, so not only are you gonna listen to me say a sad anecdote, you're gonna follow it up by, oh, that's a cute game of the year. Fuck it. Anyways, jerk. What's your runner up again? I'm trying to remember what yours was.
This was something that everyone had in their homes, something that
I thought the Wii came out in 2007.
No, it was 2006, my guy.
That is so weird.
Wii came out before the PS3.
Because I thought it was every year was a system. I thought it was 05, 06 was PlayStation, and then 07, but okay.
No, yeah, the Wii came out the same year. But it came out before the PS3. Or it could be after it. It was one or the other. But
he's talking about Wii Sports, by the way.
Wii Sports,
obviously.
The game that you bought your Wii for. Not really.
You saw the people play the tennis and them going like this, and you're like, that shit looks fun.
I was gonna say, like, this is the game that everyone freaking played, because that was the game that everyone saw, and you're just like, you can't tell me there wasn't a moment in time that you were like, oh wow, this Wii Sports.
That was, Nintendo has done some smart things. I think that's a top 2 like thing that they did, is include that game, because that was the most perfect, like, hey, you don't even need to go buy fucking Super Mario or whatever, Super Mario Galaxy. Just play Wii Sports for 70 hours a week.
70 hours a week? Jesus.
You're trying to get your boxing score better, so then every time someone comes to your house, you're like, oh, bet. You knock them out in one punch, and you're like, I'm level 7 million. Ha ha ha.
Nah, at that point, you just punch them in the face.
We're gonna fucking actually fight for real.
No, but yeah, Wii Sports, nice runner-up. My game of the year for this year.
Unprecedented, too, for our Game of the Year cast. It's the first occurrence of a repeat game not like the same, but like you having 2 of one series as your game of the year.
What are you talking about?
Is it?
Zelda happened already, you idiot.
Oh. Oh, okay. But that is so different. That is so different. That is so different. It's Kingdom Hearts 2.
It is Kingdom Hearts 2, yeah.
Just fucking talk about it.
Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of the greatest games ever made. You can't even fight that. Except Brian will depress now because he can't think
You're
straight.
so mean to me this episode.
I'm barely awake and I'm so mean to him, you know. Fucking cry. Anyway. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in Japan at the very tail end of 2005. It came out in North America in 2006, so that's why we're considering it a 2006 game. Sucks to suck. Some people say it's one of the more interesting opening acts, but that first 2 hours, you're just curious because you're playing not as Sora, but you're playing as Roxas, and you're like, who the fuck is this? Literally never heard of you before in my life, but here we are. He's on the cover. He's voiced by Jesse McCartney. You're like, I'm very confused.
It's all about you and your beautiful soul, Eric, okay? Come on now.
Roxas is one of the most tragic characters I believe is ever written in video games. He's just a man that was never meant to be born or never meant to exist. And then
Aren't we all?
He's the shadow of someone else that everyone wants to look better to. I mean, his story gets more tragic in the game that came after this, but really, the start of Kingdom Hearts 2 is so tragic because all he wants to do is be on summer vacation with his best friends, have some ice cream, some sea salt ice cream, baby. That's all he wants in life, sea salt ice cream and hanging out with his friends. And in reality, he gets none of that. Doesn't get any of it because everyone hates Roxas. You know, we've talked about Kingdom Hearts 1, how its gameplay was, you know, pretty strong. This game took that first game's combat and said, fuck it, we're going to make it better than ever. And is probably one of the best gameplay systems I've ever played with in a game. It's streamlined basically how, you know, your combos work and how your magic flows together so that you're really not stopping and going as much, or you know, you have to be like, okay, we have to wait for the combo to end before I can use something. You can know when your combo's like finishing up and then quickly switch through to use like magic or an item or for a summon and things like that. I felt that the worlds were much stronger because in this game you get to go back to those worlds to finish more stories, to get secondary bosses. We got the introduction of different forms for Sora. So he gets his new suit, which is the best suit that he's worn in all Kingdom Hearts series, the Kingdom Hearts 2 suit. But with it, it's been embroidered by the 3 fairies from Sleeping Beauty, so that he gets different drive forms. He gets these different forms by using Goofy and Donald in specific ways. So if they're in the party, he takes one of them out and it gives them a boost in some way. So the first one he gets is the Valor form. It's the red version of his suit where he holds 2 keyblades, basically a big boost in strength. The next one is Wisdom form. It's a big magic boost. So Donald gets taken out, but you get to watch yourself like ice skating on the map, shooting up spells with your keyblade. It's so cool. There's a couple more forms. I know that there's a form for, you know, if you keep trying to abuse your drive forms, you become basically a Heartless or a shadow form of Sora where you're weak. You have some good strength and you can go around, but like you take damage and you're screwed. You're fucked over and you'll die instantly. Going back into more character stuff, this was the big introduction of Organization 13. These are the big baddies that are pretty much following you for the rest of the series. Oh, what is the story of Organization 13? Well, they bring in the focus of the new baddies of the game, nobodies. So we have Heartless, who are beings of folks, are beings representing people's lost hearts. Well, nobodies are the shell of those people. So, your heart gets taken away, you're heartless. But what happens to your body? Well, your body is that nobody. It's the shell of something. So nobodies don't have hearts. So that's just saying, hey, if you want to be excluded from a group, you're a nobody. You're so heartless.
Damn.
Damn. This game also has one of the biggest set pieces of all time, known as the Battle of 1,000 Heartless. My fucking god, when they say you're putting your first strengths to the test and you're just slaughtering Heartless all the way through, bit off all these insane combos, throwing out spells, switching out drive forms. It's one of the biggest action set pieces in a game that I've ever seen. And it's, my god, it's that point is putting your skills to the test. There's a moment where you think Goofy dies, but also, you're trying to figure out what's going on with your best friends from back home because it's been years since like a year, 2 years since Kingdom Hearts 1 has happened. And everyone's grown up a little bit. Again, going back to that outfit change for Sora. Kyrie's got a whole new look. Riku, my guy, so handsome, but you don't really see his handsomeness till like towards the end of the game because he gives in to his darkness that's left inside of him, and he looks like the bad guy from the first game when he takes off his hood. Then all of a sudden, he gets to turn into his old self. Uh, all the organization members are so strong that you go up against pretty much. Each of them has their own different fighting style, uniqueness. Of course, the main one that everyone knows is Axel. He's your fire dude. And he has a personal connection with Sora. I won't spoil it too much in that aspect. Because the relationship between him and what becomes of Sora and Roxas is so strong, and it's worth delving into that story between Axel and Roxas and why Sora in the end. Zigbar is a fun character. He's one of the organization members. He's got guns. That's his whole thing.
He's got guns.
I don't remember all the names of the organization members. I know Lushu's one of the members. The leader of the organization, his name is Zemnis. Of course, he is the nobody to the big bad guy into the entire series, Xehanort, because of course Xehanort is causing problems. So, and then you find out that Ansem, the bad guy from the first Kingdom Hearts game, is Xehanort's Heartless. So in reality, Ansem wasn't truly even the baddest of bad guys, even though, he turns into this big fucking ship thing at the end of the game. Oh, yeah. Wait till you play it, Brian. You're going to be like, oh, this is your final form? Okay. Luckily, Zemnis doesn't go and have too many crazy forms. He pulls out all the punches towards the end. There's literally during the final boss fight a moment where you just have lasers flying at you, and that's one of the most intense moments at the end of the game, but it's so much fun. I won't talk more about it, but all you'll know is your friend, I guess if you're playing on the Xbox, your friend, either the Y button or the A button, that you'll learn to appreciate. We got some interesting worlds. We got the world of Mulan. So hey, Jade.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jade, shout out Mulan.
Shout out Jade. Also, in the first game, Mushu was a summon. So in the second game, when you go and visit in Mulan's world, Mushu knows you because you summoned him. He's like, "Hey, what's up? I know you." In this game, you also get to go to Tron. That's one of the big ones that you got to do. You can literally get sucked into computer and go into the world of Tron, which was very interesting. And a lot of people, of course, a lot of kids and things like that didn't know what the fuck Tron was because who the fuck watched Tron from what 89, 88?
We still had 4 more years until younger people knew what Tron was.
And even then, no one still saw that one. But I definitely got an interest for Tron. People were very curious on what the heck it was. We got the Lion King world, and then freaking Sora turned into a lion. You held your Keyblade in the mouth. It was the cutest thing in the world when you're fighting. Goofy was a turtle.
Oh, Goofy.
Oh wait, no, Goofy wasn't a turtle. Goofy's a turtle in Aquatica. I can't remember exactly what Goofy was on the top of my head. But he's like not a dog because Goofy's a dog, but he doesn't have like a dog character he turns into. No, it has to be something silly. I remember Donald turns into like a pelican. He's not a duck.
Jesus.
He's a pelican bird thing. Yeah. But you all have those different forms. Halloween Town gets an expansion. You get to go to Christmas Town. So not only do you have your Halloween Town outfit that you get to rewear again, but there's a Christmas version of your Halloween Town outfit, which is really cool. And you get to meet Santa. Santa's real, and Sora has to make a comment towards him about being a good boy. They did an expansion of Olympus Coliseum. You get to go to the underworld, Hades domain. You got to go save some souls, just a few of them. You don't really revisit too many lands from the first game. You get to go back to Agrabah. You get to fly on the carpets again. Hang out with Aladdin and Genie. But they really wanted to be like, let's have more worlds to show off again. So we got Pirates of the Caribbean, which was nuts. You're like, excuse me? We're doing live action now as well. Because we know we did Tron later on. And we're like, oh, we didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But that's video gamey. So like that kind of like works for it. Nah, man. Pirates of the Caribbean, Captain Jack Sparrow's your companion. Final boss is Barbossa with the skeleton thing. So you have to wait till, he's in his human form to attack him. So when he's in a skeleton form, he's way too powerful and you can't hit him and he's invulnerable. Or it was the other way around. I believe it was the skeleton form you had to hit him in, but when he's in his human form, you can't hurt him, because the curse, it's real. It was the big improvement from the first game. It fixed up the gameplay to make it some of the best in the entire series. The story is the best told in the entire series between Sora and Roxas and all the other characters. The Organization 13 members are such interesting characters and have different abilities. I haven't really talked about them too much, but one of them is this card player where you have to play his card games to figure out how to fight them. One of them is this dude who has a water guitar and he makes clones of himself. And then he says, okay, you have a time limit. If you don't kill these clones in a certain amount of time, you lose. That's it. It's fun. Of course, you got a taste of that stuff if you played Chain of Memories, but Chain of Memories isn't essential to play it. It just explains some certain aspects at the beginning of the game, explains a bit of where Sora is at, why he's waking up in a pod randomly. It doesn't explain like why Roxas is a thing. You don't really get that till you're playing Kingdom Hearts 2. You're just kind of like, who is this Roxas? Also, you have a boss fight and it involves Roxas, and it's one of the most heartbreaking things because again, we talk about Roxas and his whole he should have never existed sense, but he does. So everything just sucks for Roxas, and that boss fight with him, oh boy, it's so heartbreaking. Because it's just you hear the music, the setting is just perfect. and you're just like, I don't want to fight, but I'm gonna have to because I'm the one that needs to live. And plus, also, even if I lose, like, you still don't exist in a sense. Kingdom Hearts 2 is just one of the greatest games of all time, and unfortunately is the high point of the Kingdom Hearts series, and which is sad to say that we're no longer going to be talking about Kingdom Hearts on this series.
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
Also, I will say, as an outsider's perspective, I do own the collection and 3 because I have wanted to get into them. I will say, for the longest time, the ending to this game, I don't know what ending it was. It's like a secret ending, was like the biggest cock tease of all time.
Because everyone's like, what the fuck is this? What does this mean? And things like that. Turns out it's for Birth by Sleep, which is the prequel to the entire series. And you're like, oh, hold on a second. There's also like the ending where, there's a letter from Mickey Mouse. And you're like, what the fuck does the letter say? That's also a sequel game that sucks ass. The story and that's probably the worst Kingdom Hearts game that the letter is about, but it leads into like where, leading down the line for Sora and Riku and all those characters. But yeah, that letter is just telling the story of the worst Kingdom Hearts game. Kingdom Hearts 2. It has aspects of the past and the future, but to live in the present. What was your favorite game from 2006, folks? Let us know in the comments down below.
Also, if you thought that his I'm gonna be like Ralph Waldo Emerson, like that whole quote about present. If you didn't like it, you can be honest. It's okay. You don't have to lie and say you liked it. Or you can say how corny it was.
Like
it.
I don't
is it as what's up?
I don't expect anyone to like it.
I was gonna say, is it as corny as whatever happens in Kingdom Hearts later down the line? Or
you just gotta remember, friends are my power.
Yeah, you went into some for me, I'm like, yeah, like people die and blah blah, and you're like, yeah, soulless people, heartless people, you are nothing, and I'm like, Jesus, okay.
Yeah, they don't make it like too dark like that, but in reality, you think about it, you're like, that is some pretty dark shit.
It's more in the brain. Gears of War is
Again,
in your face. This is more cerebral.
Like I kept saying, I think Roxas is like the best character in the series because he's just a tragedy, and I love a good tragedy. Brian, you don't get it. You don't get it, but he is.
Oh, believe me, I know a thing or two where he is at. And on that note, everybody, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I wish I didn't have that much to say. Toodaloo.